Little book here, and we are going to open it up, and there's a page where I've got all these things I got to do, and it says, this is a list I made yesterday. I got to make a shaving plan. I got to make a teeth brushing plan. I got to make an appointment to do the laundry again. I got to go to the tailor for the suit I got. It's machine washable by Kufandy to be able to kind of look good if we're maybe willing to slip into a job that's a little better. But we've also got to make a door knocking plan, because remember, one of the things I set out to do at the very beginning, and now we're in a place where, okay, we don't get to go on a computer because we can't pay for the data right now, $200, $400, $600, whatever it's going to cost to get all the data for the property owners all across the country and do a name search, because it's not something you can easily go in most counties now in California and do a REST API where it goes in, aggregates all of the information. Okay, here's concentrations of wealth. You're not going to be able to after you talk to someone at a doorstep. But like I said, I wrote the book Comeback of the Century. It doesn't matter. You actually, and people in real estate know this, I've talked about this before, you get better results if you don't know anything about someone. You get better results if you have no clue most of the time, because you're going to go in there and there's a reality. Like for real estate sales agents, it's the seller gets to list it for whatever they want. It's up to them. Your job is to represent them on the listing side. Of course, if it's ridiculous, you know it's not going to sell, you can just say, we'll find another broker to live your delusion with you. but Compass Beal is on this planet in 2026, 25th of July, 2026, in this universe, not the one where your price somehow makes any sense, not only out of the starting gate, but ever in this market. Likewise, in this world where I'm trying to get people to donate property to me, where I'm trying to get people to give me money, train for the marathon. This is a pair of shoes I got, but where's the money coming from for it next? We want to get a paycheck, sure, but that's stuff that has to go to this, and this, and this, and we are going to need to buy a lot of shoes, especially when I start running every single day up to the airport. Father Joe's down there, and you know, SDSU is not that far from La Mesa. SDSU is not that far from downtown in actuality. You can actually, within an hour or 2 hours, make a brisk walk from downtown. So it's right there. We need to be walking around San Diego more until I get a job. And when I don't have a job, the other 8 hours should be walking around it. You've got all these suburban communities. You want to knock on doors, meet people, put your hands on to ask them, I should have broke into your wealthy family a decade or more ago, but I was psychiatrically drugged, and it prevented me from being able to do very, very good things for you. Beautiful women in Encinitas and right here in La Mesa, El Cajon, or Lemon Grove, even all these suburban communities that you have. Going to what's it called, La Jolla. So we're gonna go there and we're gonna meet people, and we're gonna do it that way, and we're gonna get this. We're gonna say, make a little flyer with my QR code on, buy my book, Comeback of the Century. I need real estate. And in the meantime, if they can't give me their house, if they can't give me their yacht, if they can't give me their trophy wife, if they can't give me this, and that, or their car, that's fine. But I could use $1,000 from this person, this person, this person. Get the money here, get the money there, get the money there. Someone's going to donate a house to me. By the way, I guarantee you, I will meet people in the next couple of years. So I'm going to say, just put it 5 years. I will meet people. You're saying, this guy's delusional, it's not going to happen. You know what? I'd hate to discount San Diego. Definitely LA. I hate to discount San Diego, but you just have a way to know. I'm not going to say from San Diego, but somewhere in America, whether it's in Honolulu, Kauai, or Southern California, or the Bay Area. The Bay Area is a big area. There's more than just San Francisco and Oakland, and also Nevada, and also Arizona, Texas. I said, she's precious, but she is. And there's a bit we can do with a manufactured home. Especially here in California, we can take that manufactured home. It's going to sell for a lot more here just because of land underneath the home, and we can take that to somewhere where we might be able to get into, if not a fourplex, well, if not a strip mall or an apartment building, at least a fourplex, and then you will ride an appreciation wave. Be as strategic as we can about it, but that's rental income versus you're living in a manufactured home in a very, very ugly place. There's a lot we can do, and I'm going to be talking to people about this stuff, and well, why would they work with you to do that and let you have some control over the deal and a percentage of it? What are you doing for them? It's out of charity. You can say it's out of charity, and I'm giving you an idea. I'm giving you a way to do something. I'm making you think about your equity as misplaced equity. They wanted to make my life an example of, look what happens when you go to a too poor place. Look what happens when you say Parumpus Paradise. Look what happens when you go to a place like this and you're someone that's meant for Metro, too advanced. But I'm not going to let my life be an example of that. The truth be told, it's about really being able to stay connected to people, even if you don't have a stake in the landscape, and continue to do business in places. And that's what it's about. So I don't have any property in Hawaii. I don't have any property in Nevada. I don't have any property here in Southern California, despite my family history of it. And I think that story alone, how sad it is that now I've got no stake in the landscape. Well, someone's going to give me stake in the landscape, and we're going to take that stake and put it somewhere, which is because it's misplaced equity in the coastal area. It's misplaced equity where that is equity, not cash flow after debt service, where that's not, the single family homes don't even break even here. So it's out of charity. Why don't I just work with some broker, follow your plan, keep you out of it, because that's what society did to me, and so you're going to help me this way. This is one way to help me, and if you can't do that, I could use $1,000. And there's a lot of people that can write a check for $1,000. So I'll meet those people, but I guarantee you, I'm going to take title. And it's going to be quite an easy thing. I'm going to meet a lot of people. It's not just going to be one person or two people. There's going to be people in a lot of situations. One of those situations is they've inherited property. They're just not familiar with it. They came into a windfall, or they, for a couple of years, had some property, and it was through that kind of a route. And it's like, it just, for them, because it wasn't someone that was very, very knowledgeable about all the things you can do with it, and they're just living there, and they don't realize that if they were renting it out, then it wouldn't even break even here if you had a 30-year conventional home loan on that property versus right across the way in Nevada, where there's still a lot of places. By the way, in Vegas it's getting difficult too. In Vegas it doesn't break even a lot like it used to, and you've got Arizona rural places in Nevada, and it's just getting harder and harder and harder. That's why we have to look at Alabama. We have to look at Detroit, Michigan. But as we start to look at it together and get the information. So that said, what I wanted to actually talk about was a woman named Barbara Oakley, and she wrote a book called A Mind for Numbers. I don't know what it has to do with learning how to learn, but it's basically her program, Learning How to Learn, from what we're seeing from Coursera. She, to me, seemed like someone just too slowed down, too demented, not as much of a genius as they were making out to be. She went to the Defense Language Institute during her time in the Army, and she brings in all these people, talks about neuroscience experts. I don't know, but in particular, I want to talk about her concept about setting a Pomodoro. When she talks about why you have to set the Pomodoro timer. I use my computer, and I've got my phone. You can set a timer on the phone, and it works. But there is actually something about having a physical object like a Pomodoro timer, which is, it's a tomato timer. It's it's one of these plastic things, and it's the shape of a tomato, and you set the people that know how to cook in the kitchen know all about it. And the reason why is because when your head is advanced, so Defense Language Institute, apparently she spoke, I don't know, at least 5 languages then, and then she later got into engineering. And so even if, there's certain things you have to learn, but your head is out there. Your head is out there in the universe, and we all know calculus innately is the truth, that we all know calculus inherently. It's just that we have to ascribe terms, a lot like in the humanities. If someone's getting a degree in, say, literary criticism or English degree, it's not that we don't know these things. We already know what's beautiful is what they say. Well, then what's the point in any of it? That's beautiful. I like it. I like to read that. But then if you're going to be someone that's being paid out by the rich families and working for the New York Times, I work for the New York Times. You're going to be paid out by the rich families to make someone a New York Times bestseller. You have to write the reason why it's a New York Times bestseller and come up with a reason to argue for the beautiful, which is probably because it's got a lot of money in it to do that. You just do what you're told to do. But likewise, it's not that we don't understand accumulation. It's not that we don't understand ratios of change. It's not that we don't understand the concepts of calculus, that things need to be measured a certain way, and you can't do it linear. You have to do it with curves. We already know this stuff. You're having to develop a vocabulary of mathematical symbols and terminology in order to apply them to the measurement of things and the application of them to solving engineering problems. And so because you are a genius to begin with, you're all the way out there, and especially if you're like me, you're more verbal than quantitative. You've got all these verbal splate happening in the sky all around. You call it verbal splate, and you're always solving the problems of the world, thinking about what the differences in culture is here, across county lines, across international border lines and date lines. And because you're not able to touch linear time, because you're not in your body when you have a genius brain, you have to actually touch an object and bring yourself into linear time to start moving linearly through it to get one thing done. That's my theory on it, but it does work. And so what do we do about the shaving? What do we do? You'll see that when I made that video about the economics of shaving, I pulled out my razor, I need to shave, and that served as a kind of Pomodoro. It wasn't a set timer, but there was an object in front of me, and I was talking into the camera, and that was right there. This is all about shaving, and we're going to shave on camera. So set a Pomodoro to shave is something you have to do because your head is out there in the universe. If you want to learn, calculus 1, calculus 2, and multivariable calculus and all the things you have to know for that so that you can be an engineer instead of having an English degree, you might have to set some Pomodoros on that because your head is out there. But you have to now ingrain into your head, symbols, terminology, and an entire vocabulary of tools. So with regards to this list, I got to make a door knocking plan. I have to take my cold medicine, pop some Mucinex. So there's all this stuff. And I want to talk about this Pomodoro. And I've got all this. I made the list of this stuff, and none of it's gotten done. And let's see here. So I guess right now we have to get on a train. And while I'm on that train, I'll look at this list and think about, well, you know what? What do you do about shaving? So the problem I have with it, just okay, set the Pomodoro on, shave right now, pull out the razor. The problem I have is that, again, I talked about the homeless person's bag being so tightly packed that I have the razor, but it's in two separate pieces. So the head is detached from the handle for the razor, and the head is somewhere buried deep inside of my bag. And I don't want to use a new razor head because I want to save money. So right there, if things were just no problem, and I could just blow all this money on Harry's razor, buy 18-pack, because these only last a good 4 shaves at the most, and then you really have to put a new head on. People don't realize it, but then you're not really getting the job done. It probably doesn't even last 2 shaves, especially with as much facial hair as I have. But I know there's one left in the razor head that I have. So I don't want to waste this. I want to find that in there, put it back on the head. Well, then there you go. There you go. You've got a task. You've got things that have to be done, and there's your list. And then you have to set the timer. So we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna get on a trip.